Welcome, everybody, to the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The CFL Weekly Pick'em Show is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. You can go there, bet all the CFL playoff games starting this weekend. I think both of them are pick'em games right now, which we'll get into in a minute, which makes sense because they're both evenly contested games. But the Grueling Truth is partnered with MyBookie.ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on, and that's why the Grueling Truth urges you to check out MyBookie.ag. In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on MyBookie.ag daily, they also have in-game live betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now on MyBookie.ag. We'll give you a 50% bonus on first deposit for up to $3,000 in extra playing money. And Schmidt, that's usually what you deposit, is $3,000. And if you want to get that, enter the promo code TGT50. That's TGT50 to take advantage of the offer. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I want to welcome in my co-host. First up, Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Brian?
You know, I'm doing good, and it seems like I just talked to you recently, and you had the same diatribe beginning of the show that you just did. I
know. So we're hoping to make some money at some point. We'll see what happens. And next up, we've got a man that is no stranger to the CFL Playoffs. Help me welcome four-time Grey Cup champion, Robert Drummond. How you doing, Robert?
Doing pretty good, just trying to adjust to the Syracuse weather, but, you live through all your life, you get used to it.
It's cold everywhere I've ever lived, so.
Not like here, trust me.
And I hate cold weather. I used to actually not mind cold weather when I was younger, but as I get older, once it gets under 60, I kind of get pissed and irritated. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but
that's funny. I mean, like in all my years of football, I mean, and all these guys, my former teammates, everything, and every player in the CFL knew it about me. I hated ice, so whenever I would get an injury and the trainers tried to put ice on me, I would refuse it, and I would sit there and play with injuries all the time because I refused to put ice on me. I wouldn't get in the ice out in the cold tub. I just did not like ice. I can't stand the cold. And they always thought it was fun.
No ice baths for Robert Drummond.
No ice baths, not a chance.
Never even tried it once?
I tried it once, did not like it, and I just didn't like the stinging. But, I had teammates that would go outside. Like Reggie Gibbons would always go outside. It was freezing cold outside, and he would always go out in shorts and just a T-shirt on. And I would look at him and be like, how can you do that? And he'd be like, doesn't bother me.
I still just go out in shorts. But now I've got a hoodie on with the shorts.
I mean, I look like Kenny from South Park. I was dressed up in so many clothes.
Luckily, we can understand you talking a lot better than we could Kenny. So
my teammates always thought it was funny that someone so tough and played at the level I did not like the cold. I did not like the cold at all. Also.
Well, I also don't like it when it's above 80. So you give me between 70 and 80, some clouds, and I'm good to go.
I mean, I don't mind excessive heat. I can adjust my body to heat, but cold, I can't. I just can't do it. I'm a baby when it comes to that.
All right, so we're getting ready for the divisional or the semifinals of the playoffs. We've got two equal matchups here. But first, let's look back at the season, and we'll start with you, Brian. Who was the biggest surprise with her team or player, and who was your biggest disappointment?
I think my biggest surprise, obviously, would be Toronto. I think they ended up being a lot better than maybe what people thought they would be at the start of the year. In the fact that I think we all agreed, was Ricky Ray was going to be the guy that get them to where they needed to go. But as the year went on, we started seeing other people step up and really show that team was not just a one-player team, that there were other people that could do some things. My disappointment, I think, would be the BC Lions. Just a team that we really thought would be better than they were, and they just really were just not the team that seemed like they'd be at the beginning of the year.
All right, Robert, same question or questions. I tend to agree. I'd also throw Winnipeg in that fray for being a surprise to me. It's just like we knew Calgary, the Edmonds were going to be at the top and be the dominant teams they are, because throughout history, they are the more dominant teams in the CFL, But I was impressed this year, with Winnipeg, what they pulled off, and it's just and the same thing with Toronto. And our biggest disappointment for me is just that, the Red Blacks, I expected so much more from them. I expected them to be a dominant team with the cast and crew they had, on that team. You just thought that they would do a lot more, and have Toronto win the division, and just it was just interesting to me to see the dynamics of such a talented team not play well,
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest surprise is the same as your biggest disappointment was Ottawa. I'm shocked by 8-9-1. I know they lost Trevor Harris for a while, and that hurt them. But my biggest
top to bottom.
What was that?
They're still a very talented team top to bottom, though. They should have been better than that.
Yeah, they should be better than 8-9-1. And my other disappointment is just the lack of teams having a capable backup quarterback that can win them some games. I mean, there's got to be guys out there better than some of these teams running around with as backups.
I agree.
I mean, so my question is, that they pay the starter so much that you don't want to go out and pay for the backup, or they're just going to go ahead and roll the dice and play without a backup? But
it's not a smart move.
Yeah, and I mean, just the one thing you don't want to have is a bad quarterback as your backup, or a guy that can't get it done. It really limits what you can do. And I mean, hell, we see it in the NFL all the time.
We do.
I mean, the NFL, the Houston Texans. They said they were interested in Kaepernick, and then Bill O'Brien comes out and said, well, he hasn't played in a while. And then they signed Josh Johnson, who hasn't played since 2011.
Yeah, I saw that today. Like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Number one, I think right there the collusion case should be won. But
I mean, a situation like that, it's insulting for the players of the Houston Texans, because you're put in a position where you want to win games. The ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl. But yet you have owners and management that don't want to give you better players to try and possibly get to that next level. Deshaun Watson had that team going to where they could have made a difference. But to sign a quarterback who's just, I mean, let's be real. Colin Kaepernick gives you the best opportunity and the best chance of fitting into a Deshaun Watson mode and going out there and winning some games for you to possibly get into the playoffs. But you sign a quarterback that hasn't played, since 2011. I understand.
He wasn't very good when he played in 2011.
I mean, I heard it. Hey, this is his ninth team in the NFL. I'm like, wow. It's like, you want to make a point as an owner so bad about keeping Kaepernick out that you'll risk throwing away a year. I mean, as a player, I'd have problems with that. I really, really would. I'd have problems with that whole entire organization.
Yeah, but luckily with billionaire owners, they really don't care what the players or the fans think.
They don't care. I mean, until the players completely just walk off the field and let them lose the millions upon millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars they were losing that franchise, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, but, the players aren't billionaires, so they're probably not going to do that.
No.
Even though it would only take 1 week and it would straighten everything out, I think.
Yeah. So the collective bargaining agreement, and walkouts and, things of that nature that have happened in the past. So eventually,
Yeah, but we'll go back to the CFL. Our first game, and like I said, on mybookie.ag, both of these games are a pick-em matchup, and you can see why they are. Especially, we'll start off with the first game Sunday at 1 Eastern. We got the Saskatchewan Roughriders at Ottawa, and I mean they split their two matchups. They scored the same amount of points. The one thing that does stand out to me is this, though. Ryan Lindley was the starting quarterback when Ottawa lost to Saskatchewan. When you look at this matchup, Brian, what do you think is the key to this game?
I think the key is going to be I think both offenses are very good, but what defense is going to do enough to shut the other one down? I definitely think there are going to be some points scored. I think that I give Ottawa a little bit of an advantage just because of Trevor Harris, but Saskatchewan has played lights out. I mean, the fact this game is a pick-em is not a surprise. In the least. I think it's going to be a great game.
Because when I went to mybookie.ag to try to help my neighbor pick the game, I really couldn't come up with anything.
Yeah, your neighbor has got a pretty big account from what I'm understanding.
Yeah, I mean, he bets thousands. He does what I tell him to do. So now he bets hundreds. I figure by the next year he'll be betting tens, 20s, quarters the next year, and we'll go from there. Robert, same question. What do you think is the biggest key to this game between the Rough Riders and the Red Blacks?
I think the biggest key is, I mean, and we've been saying it all year, is, which Ottawa team is going to show up. The team that on paper is just, a dominant offensive team. They're going to score points at will. I think it's going to be a great game. Or the team that all year has been going on that's gone 8-9-1. It's like at this point, it's like, I mean, I do like Saskatchewan, but I think Ottawa's a way more talented team, and it's just that it's an enigma to me for having watched football for so long in my life. It's like, here's a team that's I mean, it reminds me a lot of when I was in BC and we had the likes of, of Eddie Brown, Rod Harris, Alfred Jackson, Damon Allen, myself, Sean Millington, and we were just we had a cast of CFL All-Stars, but we could just never play well together, and it always, I mean, it boggled me. I was like, what is going on here? It's like we have guys that are All-Stars, but we do not play well together. I don't get it with Ottawa. I mean, they should have won the East easily. As I said, to go 8-9-1 and now be set in a position where they're trying to decide in a pick'em game which Ottawa team is going to show up. If the Ottawa team shows up from the past, they'll win this game easily. If not, it's going to be a shootout.
Well, see, and I think this, like I said, I'm not so sure. I mean, Saskatchewan's a really talented team now. They're deep, and the thing I think could be the difference here is just the way their defense has played over the last half of the season, Robert.
Yes, I agree. I do agree. They played great football. They really have.
Yeah, and when I look at the defense, Brian, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should pick Saskatchewan. But then when I look at the offensive side and I see Trevor Harris on one side and I see Brandon Bridge and Kevin Glenn on the other, I know there's been successful quarterback tandems in the CFL, but most of the football teams I've ever seen that tried to run with two quarterbacks, it didn't work out that well.
No, they typically don't. And in this situation, and I feel like they have found a really good rhythm to make it work, because it's something that usually has not been very successful. But again, regular season and then playoffs is such a different beast. It's a different entity. That's where this two quarterback system, you wonder, what can it do under those circumstances? That's why, I kind of give a little bit of an advantage to Ottawa, but then coming back to Robert's point, what Ottawa team is going to show up? The team on paper that should be a little bit better than Saskatchewan in this game, or a team that there were times during the season they couldn't get out of their own way.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, especially the second half, when they didn't play well, is when Trevor Harris wasn't there. But you did have the first, quarter of the season where it seemed like they would lose close games almost every week.
Yes. And that's what I think about more than anything.
Yeah, and when you look at it, you say, well, Ottawa's got the experience. They won the Grey Cup last year. But, Robert, Trevor Harris wasn't the quarterback in that Grey Cup.
No, he was not. But, I mean, he still had the talented players around him, to get the job done. I mean, and I just keep going back to, just the knowledge I have of football, just sitting here and watching. Right? If Doug Flutie had not played in games with us, we still would have found a way to win. We had super talented guys, around us. We had, Pinball Clemens, myself, Paul Mazzotti, Mookie Mitchell. We had guys that knew how to get it done. And I just feel the talent with Harris in there helps them a lot. But they still can win. They're a much better team on paper than they are actually on the field of play, and that's not good.
Yeah. So, Robert, who are you going to pick in this game?
I'm going to be smart in the playoffs. Go with experience. As you said, winning the Grey Cup last year. I'm going to go with Ottawa.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I'm in the same feeling. I think it's going to be a very good game, but at the end of the day, I'm going to take the team on paper that should win, and hope that they do what they're what they should be doing.
We've been doing that all year with them, though, and it's like, I don't get it. You're right; they should win on paper.
Yeah, but the game's played on grass, not paper.
That is true.
So I'm going to go this way. I think in the end, I think they're both very talented teams. I think Ottawa's better at the quarterback position, which really scares me because I really like Trevor Harris. Saskatchewan's been good on the road this year. I think their road record's 5-4, so they're above 500 on the road. Defense travels. I'm going to go with Saskatchewan to win this game 27-24, but it would not surprise me either way, but that's the way I see it. I'm just going to go. I think the safest pick is to go with the team with the best defense. So we'll roll that way and see how that turns out for me.
Yeah.
The next game, which is another game that is almost impossible to pick, the Edmonton Eskimos will be playing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And, this is another game that, Edmonton's at Winnipeg. I think that Edmonton has played maybe the best football in the CFL over the last 4 weeks. And they're a team that, they started off the season, they won like 6 or 7 in a row. They lose 6 in a row, then they win 5 in a row. So this game is, and so what's your key for this one?
Me?
Brian.
Yeah.
I was going to say you cut out, so.
Yeah, cut out on me too.
Yeah. Man, Edmonton has played so well lately. You've got that. It's really going to come down. To me, it's going to come down is with Winnipeg, the inexperience in the playoff. Can they show up and can they play when now it counts? They've had some injury issues. Is Harris going to be back in this game? I didn't see anything when I looked yesterday.
Yeah, I'm looking right now for it, and I don't see anything yet. And the other question, Brian, is how healthy is Matt Nichols?
Yeah,
I know he's going to play, but with that calf injury, who knows? Yeah,
and for the most part, you've got a certainly healthier than they were there early in the season. You've got a fairly healthy Edmonton team. There was one point where they were calling me and you and Robert to go up there and play. So
there was no point where they were calling me and you, Schmidt. Come on.
Okay, well there was a point where they were calling Robert to come up there and play.
I can believe that, maybe.
Not coming out of retirement. Go ahead.
Well, see, then they might be able to get Schmitty because he obviously brings this up on a lot of shows where he still thinks he can play. He can't, but he thinks he can.
Hey, if you think you can, then you can.
If you think you can, you're just delusional.
Well, there is that. Yeah, right now, it's really going to depend upon Harris. Can Harris play? How healthy is Nichols? And can they bring it in a playoff atmosphere? This game to me, I know it's a pick'em game, but I almost feel like as the week goes on, like it's going to favor Edmonton a little bit. I think on paper, you kind of have to look at that. So, to me, the key is going to be can Winnipeg get past that, having to play big in a playoff, something that they've not really been in this spot very much lately. So,
yeah, and this is the thing. I think that Edmonton should be favored by a touchdown in this game, and it's not because they're that much better, but when you're a quarterback, you've really got to step into the throw. There's torque on your calf, and today at practice, from everything I'm reading here, most of the practice he sat and watched. When they put him in to practice, he most of the time was just handing the ball off. So I think when trying to throw a ball with zip on your toes, you got to have the calf, you got to have the torque. And there's going to come a time Sunday when Nichols really needs to rip a throw, and it's at that point when the calf is really going to be tested. That's when we find out. And I just, right now, that to me, I think is the biggest key of this game, Robert.
I agree somewhat. I mean, I for the simple fact that Nichols, if Harris can't play, they're in a lot of trouble. You know, from the simple fact
even
that
if Harris can play, if Nichols can't play, and you've got Dan Lefevre or Drew Tate running a quarterback, I mean, it's going to be a lot easier to stop Andrew Harris.
Yeah, but the only reason I say that is for the simple fact that, you know, Harris is a dual threat. You know, he's just as good as a receiver as he is a runner. So, you know, it gives the quarterback, you know, whether it be Favors or Nichols, you know, more options, you know, to call certain plays. And as I said before, you know, even in the Toronto, you know, I said weeks before, the offense was designed to go through me. I'm pretty sure the offense was designed to go through Harris. So it makes the play calling and the matchups that much easier. If he's not in the game, you lose that element of, you know, of surprising.
Well, it looks like Harris is planning on playing the game. I don't know how effective he'll be, but it looks like he's going to be able to attempt to play.
I've seen 1,000 guys with their heart in the playing, and
I know. That's why I said it that way.
Get in the field, and you know, they just can't go. So, you know, I mean, you know, you commend his effort, you commend his courage, you commend his heart to want to be able to go out there and play. But if you know, the body will do, you know, what the body wants to do, and if the body's injured, you can't play. You know, and my problem with Edmonton is Edmonton was a team that started off hot, you know, and then lost 5, 6 in a row, and then got hot again. So what's their identity? It's like, you know, here's a team that, you know, psychologically I mean, and you know, I keep talking about the psychology of the game of football because it's huge, especially going to the playoff time now because it's win or go home. You know, and know, all right, we know we're a good team, but we know we're a vulnerable team and we can be beaten. Hence the 5 and 6 losses in a row, so they know they can be beaten. So if they don't go out there, you know, and play the type of game, you know, they're capable of playing, which I'm sure they can with Riley, you know, at the helm. I mean, they could lose this game, but it's a mind game right now. It really is. That's what the playoffs is. Playoffs are a mind game because, as I said before, it's win or go home.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that losing streak had a lot to do with injuries, and I think Edmonton's winning streak at the end had a lot to do with starting to get those guys healthy again. When I look at this game to pick it, I just think there's too many question marks with Winnipeg to pick them in this game. If they were completely healthy, I think this is a toss-up. But with questions about the quarterback, about Harris, I mean, with Nichols and Harris, if either one of those guys is not able to go, it's going to make it really rough to beat Edmonton with Mike Riley, C.J. Gable. He's got a ton of weapons. I'm going to pick Edmonton in this game. Schmidt, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going with Edmonton. I think that with the questions with Winnipeg and Edmonton being on the roll they've been on, it doesn't feel like a pick'em game to me. It feels like Edmonton should be favored by at least.
Well, it would feel like a pick'em game to me if both those guys were completely healthy.
Exactly, but they're not.
Yes, I agree.
That changes everything.
All right, Robert.
I agree with you guys. I mean, and I'm trying to sit here and think myself. All the games I've ever played, you know, in the playoffs. You know, I mean, the health factor of my teammates, you know, and how much it affected the game. You know, fortunately, I was able to play in the championship game because we always won the division. I was fortunate enough, but it plays a huge role. And just with Edmonton being healthy and, you know, not knowing the status. You know, you say Harris is playing, but is he going to be 100%? Is Nichols going to play? Is he going to be 100%? You know, you just don't know. There's just way too many question marks right now to go out there, you know, in a game that should not be a pick. I mean, as you said, it should be a 6, 7, 8 point, you know, favored by Edmonton. I just think Edmonton's going to win this game.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this, I mean, what you just said, is it going to be 100%? I'm not sure about Harris, but I can tell you this: a quarterback with a bad left calf is not going to be 100% in this game.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I just don't see how that's possible. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We got the conference championship games coming up next week, so make sure you check that show out. Brian, any final words?
Well, it's fun to playoff time, and remember, folks, it's getting cold out there. Always be sure to zipper up.
There you go. Just be careful when you zipper it up. Robert?
Exactly.
It's playoff time, and for the players, it's the best time of your life. Now, I remember I played in the Grey Cup in Saskatchewan in '97. I cramped up, and then in the 2000 Grey Cup in Calgary, I actually played with a broken. No one ever knew, but I had a broken wrist. But they just kept it quiet, so Montreal wouldn't attack it. So I had a cast on, but I just covered it up with a glove. So you can always play. You can always play with injury. But I was saying, but if it wasn't a detriment to me. If this is a detriment to these young players out there playing, this is the time when you like to have the most fun you possibly can. You want to be healthy, but injuries are a part of the game, and that's a tough part of it, So for these guys, just go out there and have the best time and give it your best shots,
No. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to remind everybody you can check out all of our shows on thegruelingtruth.net. You can find the link to mybookie.ag. Click it, get a 50% bonus up to $3,000. So that about wraps it up. We will be back. We got a couple weeks left. We got the biggest games of the year. I can't believe how quickly this season's went, guys.
So, yeah, it went fast.
Yeah, it seems like almost every day I'm texting Robert, 9 with a question mark.
It's a whole lot faster when you're not getting beat up and you're not bruised every Monday.
Oh, I'm beat up and bruised. Trust me, Robert. I'm beat up and bruised.
I'm like I used to be playing football, and not even close.
Oh, I'm like that all the time. As I get older, it doesn't take. I just bump into a wall and I got a bruise. I used to be invincible. Now I'm invincible. But all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you check all of our shows out on iHeart, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Music, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Robert Drummond, Brian Schmidt, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.